Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Hope
sir.
everyone is healthy and hope you guys are doing well. Kung saan man kayo. I'm AJ Villanueva. Hindi ko lang kung sino nag-invite sa inyo. Pero this is a free class because it's better that we do something like this than any other thing, I think. And bilang isang teacher, ay gusto kong magturo. I miss my students. If I have students here, as in students ko ngayong SEM, medyo masakit sa damdamin kasi pati online classes namin sinuspend. Because of lack of online facilities of the students, which is understandable. So anyway, I'm gonna try to be as non-technical as possible. I can be very technical. Composition can be very technical. Okay. Composition can be very technical. Very technical. Pero ang gusto kong pag-usapan ngayon, ang gusto kong i-share sa inyo, is one way wherein we can think about not just composition, not just songwriting. By the way, baka in the next couple of days or weeks, I might talk about the technical stuff. Pero let's talk about something that I think is very crucial in starting any kind of artwork. Pwedeng music, pwedeng visual art. And it's a technique that that can make something very personal. Can make an artwork very personal. I think, again, this is just how I start my compositions. This is just how I start my this is just how I start my stuff. Okay. Yan, may mga students ako ngayong SEM. Ayan, si Yob nandiyan. Nakikita ko. Yung mga nagsabi sa akin na nagsabi sa akin magklase ako kasi nabobore sila. Di ba Mara? Okay. So ngayon, we'll talk about, basically yung question is, how do we start thinking about a composition? How do we start thinking about a piece of music? And it can be, para lang alam nyo, I'm a composition and theory teacher sa UP. And ang aking pinag-aralan talaga is contemporary classical composition. It's very intimidating, I think, for some. Pero I also find that it has a lot of connections with a lot of other areas of non-classical composition. I also write songs, pop songs, Christian songs, songs for church. And I found it's very helpful that I think this way in a lot of my musical creations. Nakaka-overwhelm. Alam niyo ba, ang dami nagsasabi sa akin mag-Facebook live daw ako. Pero nahihiya ako. So, ito na lang. Okay lang. Ilan?
35.
35. 30. 30.
6.
Wow.
Asawa ko. Bago siya mag-TikTok.
Ate ko yan.
Ate Faye, miss you!
Okay. So, meron akong mga ni-ready dito na mga listening. And medyo classical to, pero i-explain natin mamaya in a very relatable way. Share screen. Dami. Okay. Again, dun sa mga ngayon lang pumasok dito, I hope you're healthy. I hope you're safe. I hope you had your dinner. I hope sana talaga hindi maging hindi problematic sa area ninyo. So, we will talk about imagery. Yeah, it's my favorite thing to think about. Don't annotate, please. Wait, ano ba yun? Stop annotation. Okay, anyway. And in imagery, we want to think about it like this, na how do we translate something from the real world, wow, deep, no, into music? Hindi lang music, it can be any type of art, or poetry, any literary arts, visual art, whatever. And yung imagery allows us to really dwell into whatever state we are in right now. And I think very timely siya ngayon. Kasi hindi ang art, hindi dapat siya kaiba, hindi dapat siya malayo sa mundong ginagalawan natin. Music, hindi dapat siya malayo dun sa mundong ginagalawan natin. Abi. Hindi siya malayo dun sa mundong ginagalawan natin. Kasi ang pwede natin tignan na ang art ay ang ating sariling tingin sa mundo ngayon. At for others, it can be, arts can have a calming effect, parang ganun, di ba? Usually sinasabi, ang arts can have a different take of this whole chaotic situation that we have. Pero I think na if we try to understand it more in an artistic sense, in a more creative way, there is really so much that we can learn with what is going on right now. And I have here 3 examples of music we can listen to. Doon sa mga nakakabasa ng score, there's a score. Doon sa mga hindi nakakabasa ng score, you can, of course, listen to it. Wait lang. Let's make sure. In my many years of teaching this, I came up with 3 different imageries that we can think about. Unang-una ito, sa example na to, is imagery of something that is intangible. Again, ang gusto natin gawin is to come up with an idea. So this is an idea to come up with an idea. Parang ganun. So this is imagery. It's, again, sinasabi natin kanina, we are taking something from the real world. Okay? Our everyday. And then we transmit it, or we understand it in terms of music. And yung music na yun, bago siya maging composition, bago siya maging music, it starts with an idea. It starts with a motif. It starts with any other principle. It starts with something else that maybe only you can imagine about that certain something about society, about yourself, or whatever. Okay, so this is imagery of the intangible. That's just what I call it. And yung intangible is, it can be emotion. Okay. For example, ito mas practical question. How can you translate into music the emotion fear or confusion? Hindi lang music, you can think of any other art form. Fear or confusion. Ano pa ba mga intangible? Hate or disgust of our... Bala na kayo. Pero parang ganun. So let's listen to this. This is a work by Olivier Messiaen. He is a French, French. And sa YouTube naman to. This whole work is called Quartet for the End of Time. Kung titignan nyo yung comment, lagi ko itong ginagamit, itong link na to. Yung comment may mga comment dito . this piece has hit home a little differently in the past few weeks. Wow. Basically, this is a World War II result. And, teka lang dami talaga nag-chat sa akin. Okay. So Quartet for the End of Time is it's a quartet. It's for violin, cello, piano, clarinet, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think violin. Yeah, violin. And this was written in a prisoner of war camp in 1941. So Miss Young was a prisoner of war during that time. And so he wrote this inside the prison. And if you can imagine the conditions during World War II, which I don't know if we are attuned with our history, maybe we can imagine. 1941. And yung kabuang context niya is really the end of time. And si Olivier Massion has a lot of, karamihan ng works niya ay very religious. Kung may time kayo, i-google siya ngayon habang pinapakinggan ito, marami siyang works, marami siyang organ works na talaga nilutugtog sa churches around Europe. And this work, Quartet for the End of Time, it's divided into 8 different smaller pieces. Kung babasahin nyo dito. Crystal Liturgy, Vocalise for the Angel Who Announces the End of Time. We will listen to this one. Forgive me for my French. Louange à l'éternité de Jésus. May nag-French ba dito? Please correct me. Wala. Okay. Meron ba? Praise to the eternity of Jesus. Now, if you look at the other, the pieces before and after, Abyss of the Birds, Dance of Fury, right? Announces the end of time for the angel announces the end of time. It's very apocalyptic, yun yung theme. And then, the first thing na pwede natin manotice here after 4 pieces is this one. It's the glimmer of hope. Parang ganun. Yung praise to the eternity of Jesus. Parang yun yung after 4 pieces, yun yung glimmer of hope niya. So this piece, na ito yung papakinggan natin, is for cello and piano. And it has a lot to do, it speaks about that hope. Na, according dito sa piece to, context lang and everything. Si Jesus yung hope. Praise to the eternity of Jesus. Siya yung hope. So yung music speaks about that. And mamaya explain natin mabuti yan. Let's listen. Okay. So, kung gusto nyo lang pakinggan, I will send the link sa chat right now. Saan na yun? Okay, so yung point dito, and then, hindi mo na yung point. Pero, mga general observations lang about the piece is that, unang-una, pwede natin makuha yung hint kung ano talaga yung meaning ng piece from the title. Hindi laging ganun yun eh. Pero, ay mga composer. Yeah. So, Eternity of Jesus. Again, we are dealing with something, imagery, that is, from something that is intangible. So it can be an emotion. Just from the title itself, pwede nating ma-figure out kung paano niya inisip yung music. Kung paano niya sinimulan yung music. Parang gano'n. Eternity. In the whole piece, merong isang bagay na tuloy-tuloy. Kung napakinggan nyo siya kanina, doon sa mga nagbabasa ng pyesa, makikita nyo siya na yung piano, tuloy-tuloy. Tuloy-tuloy yung piano. And para ma-build up ko yung point na yun, dahil kahit tuloy-tuloy yung piano, merong times na para mapaliwanag natin sa ating lahat na mabuti. Pag ng isang bagay sa music tuloy-tuloy, merong tendency na maging very boring siya. Okay. May tendency na parang yung energy bumaba or whatever. Hindi naman intention ng pyesa na magkaroon ng energy kasi hindi naman talaga ganun yung music eh. Pero if we focus kunyari dun sa last two bars, kunyari ito. Play natin ng konti para dun sa mga So for example, itong bar na to, tuloy-tuloy siya. Stop ng konti. Ulit. Longer. Meron pa. So kunyari yung idea na yun na nandun ako sa chord na yun sa piano, tuloy-tuloy, and then magsa-stop. So akala natin tapos na. Chord ulit. Stop. Longer. Then meron ulit. Yung idea na yun, yung figure na yun, can go on forever and ever. Parang ganun yung idea. And kaya yung notion of eternity is symbolized by the piano. Symbolism. Dito sa pesang ito, yun yung symbolism na ginagawa niya. Kung pinakinggan niyo siya na mabuti kanina, yung mga nagbabasa ng pesa, kung nakita niyo siya, ang daming dissonances, ang daming areas kung saan parang ang yung alam mo yun, parang anong ibang word sa dissonance na pwede maintindihan? Clashing, yun. Ang daming clashing notes, ang daming clashing chords sa ibang parts, and then biglang magla-lighten up. Diba? So kanina sinasabi natin yung context about this piece, this particular piece, praise to the eternity of Jesus, signaling hope in the first time after four pieces. Here in this piece, parang naka-incorporate din yun. Merong mga clashing na tones, and then bigla siyang mag-open up into a beautiful E major chord. Parang gano'n. So, yung symbolism ng eternity nasa piano, and it can go on forever. Okay? And then pangalawa, yung context nung particular piece na to in that whole suite, and then incorporating yung idea na yun in the music itself, nandoon siya. Okay? Kaya nagkakaroon ng iba-ibang layers kung paano pwedeng magkaroon ng imagery na from the real world translated into music. So paano niya translate? Yung eternity, it's never ending. That's yun yung definition niya, di ba? Never ending. Tuloy-tuloy lang, never ending sa piano yun. And then as a beacon of hope, dahil yung title niya is Praise of the Eternity of Jesus. And in some parts ng music, naging evident yun. Parang mas ma-appreciate mo yung isang bagay na napaka-pleasant kapag merong isang passage na dinaanan na napaka-clashing or unpleasant. Parang kung gano'n ang gusto natin yung term. Okay? So, ito magandang practical approach din. If we are to think of any intangible idea we can have now, how can we think about it and translate it into music? Not just music, into something. Kunyari, ito ilang araw ko itong iniisip pero parang nag-iiba yung narrative sa utak ko ilang araw ko na iniisip. Anong epekto ng pagiging separate from each other while at the same time having a social gathering, kunyari, like this? Anong effect nun? Parang you are alone, but at the same time, you can be together. But at the same time, yung being alone mo is not really being alone. Parang labo, no? Or isa pa, pwedeng karamihan sa atin nasa safety ng bahay natin. Pero alam natin na paglabas natin ng bahay, hindi naman super chaos. No? Pero chaos sa labas. So yung idea na yun, paano natin pwedeng i-translate into music? So doon siya pwedeng maging technical. Kunyari, kung ang iniisip natin is solitude, then why not start with one note? And then that note, pwedeng nandun siya throughout, kunyari, throughout the song. Nandun yung one note na yun. And that can be the symbolism of what you are thinking about. Diba? Ano pa ba? Meron akong idea ang pinaglalaruan ngayon in a composition na gagawin namin ni Pauline. At yun yung idea yung sinabi ko sa inyo. How can we be separated at the same time together? Parang yan. Pwede siyang maging, meron siyang sariling part, meron kang sariling part, meron kang sariling part, at tutugtugin mo yon on your own na parang enough na yon for you. Enough na you can stand alone. Pero pag magkasama, may sense din. Mas may sense. Yun yung iniisip kong idea ngayon. And it can be different. Iba-iba ang pwedeng, kunyari, if you're writing a simple, if you're writing a song, how could this idea of what's happening now, paano mo siya ma-apply into what you're doing? Don't get me wrong, kasi pwedeng ang music, para sa akin, bilang ilang taong pinag-aralan doon everything, mas malalim pa to kaysa sa chords and everything. Mas malalim pa siya sa paglalagay lang ng drum beat. Mas malalim pa siya sa paglalagay ng 4 na chords. Of course, it can work. Of course, madami tayong narinig na ganyan. Pero if we want something to be very expressive, to be, alam niyo, very associated with what we want, maganda na mag-isip tayo ng mga ganitong bagay. Kunyari, kaya madaling gumawa ng kanta para sa akin. Kasi lalo na kapag may descriptive na verbs, descriptive na adjectives doon. or concepts doon na I can play around with sa music. Kunyari, merong word na silence or katahimikan or whatever. So, ang pwede mong gawin doon, as a symbolism of that word, pwedeng maraming space na ilalagay mo doon sa word na katahimikan. Kunyari, katahimikan. So, mahaba. Para yun lang yung nandun. Diba? Kunyari, merong word na sigaw. Yung word na sigaw, hindi mo ilalagay na mababa yung pitch. Kasi hindi ka sumisigaw nun. O, pwede na lang kung meron ka talagang gustong idea na i-develop. Pero, nasigaw, high-pitched. Usually. Pwede na lang kung gusto mo kontrahin yung idea mo. Kung gusto mo i-counter in whatever way. So, yung imagery of the intangible, ang dami niyang pwedeng gawin. Kunyari, love. Ito lagi ko sinasabi sa mga compo students ko. You have to break down what you are thinking about. Kasi minsan, pag break down mo yun, at hinimay-himay mo bawat isa, yung isang konsepto mo, intangible lang to hinimay mo isa-isa. Baka maka-come up ka with an idea. Not just in instrumental music, but in a song na may voice and piano. Babalik tayo din sa situation ngayon. Magandang confusion. Confusion ba yung tamang word? Hindi ko alam. Ano bang gusto niyo? Confusion, hate, ito, may mga matanggap po chat eh. Uncertainty. Alright. That's a nice word. Kunyari, uncertainty. Again, doon tayo sa train of thought natin. How can you translate into music uncertainty? Yun yung laging question natin. So, medyo malabo, di ba? So, sintonado ako kakanta. Wala akong definite pitch. Uncertain yun. Pero in a musical standpoint, magagalit sa akin yung mga tutugtog ng pyesa ko. Di ba? Kung gano'n, kunyari, sino ba naman dito? Nagtitiktok asawa ko sa labas. Anyway. Oops. Just my... Uncertainty. If you break that down, ito maganda may kausap ko. Ano meron sa uncertainty? Again, breakdown natin Kapag uncertain ka sa isang bagay, yung wala kang mahina yung sense of hope mo. Ibig sabihin, sanay tayo na we are here in this point in time and then meron tayong something to look forward to. Kaya lahat tayo, kunyari, uncertain yung feeling natin yan. Kasi, okay, next week, anong mangyayari? In 2 weeks, anong mangyayari? Hindi natin alam. Merong sinabi yung government about this na malilift na yung quarantine. Pero we really don't know for sure. At doon nanggagaling uncertainty. Meron kang endpoint na hindi mo sure kung mapupuntahan mo, kung ma-achieve mo. Or meron kang artificial endpoint sa utak mo para lang makalma ka, pero alam mo sa utak mo, alam mo sa puso mo, na yung endpoint na yun ay baka mas malaki yung possibility na hindi mangyari. So, kunyari, paano mo gagawin yun sa music? Ganito mag-isip ng mga contemporary composers. Meron tayong kasamang contemporary composer dito from the great country of Germany. Say hi, Mai. That's Mai. Marie Louise. Oy, mag-hi ka naman. Hi.
Umalis yata siya.
Nasa audio. Hindi siya. Hindi siya wala. Anyway, Kunyari lang, no? Wild idea lang. So kung ganun yung thinking mo about uncertainty, how can you create something out of it? Baka yung iba sa inyo man naiisip na. Baka yung wala siyang mic. Baka iba sa inyo naiisip na kung paano siya in poetry. Kunyari si Bianca nandyan. Baka may isip na siya about poetry. May endpoint ka, artificial endpoint, just to calm you down, pero wala talaga. Wala talagang endpoint. How can music have no endpoint? Ito, maganda example to. Itong music na to. Kasi parang may endpoint siya, pero it can go on forever and ever. Isang example lang yun. And each one of us can take that differently. Iba-iba yung pwede natin mag-intake dyan. Pwedeng yung iba walang final chord. Hindi ko alam. Sa mga students ko, pwedeng half cadence. Hindi ko alam. Kung effective yan. Pero yun yung idea. That we can translate something from the real world, an intangible idea, into musical terms. Okay? Doon nagiging very wild at experimental ang music. At kaya, kwento ko lang. Daming ng kwento. Sorry nakakatuwa kasi ang daming tao. Minsan lang ako may kausap. Lahat tayo. Ano ba? Wala na ako.
Tungkol sa endpoint. Yay, may mic na ako.
Ayun, yan. Si Mai from Germany. Sana okay kayo dyan. Endpoint. Ano ba yung endpoint? Ayun, yun. So, each of us will have different ways to think about that. Depende yun sa aesthetic natin. Ibig sabihin ng aesthetic, kung ano yung bagay na in easier words, trip natin habang lumalaki tayo. Trip natin ng music to habang lumalaki. Nakikita natin, ay walang ganun yung endpoint niya. Walang endpoint yun. Or nakita mo dun sa isang kind of music na parang wala siyang pinatunguhan, pero may pinatunguhan siya. Gets niyo yun? So parang nagiging very abstracted, nagiging very artistic, nagiging very creative ang music making because of that. And in simple songwriting, for example, yung same idea, isang bagay na kontrang-kontra ako sa songwriting ay lahat ng bagay na artistic nasa lyrics lang. Kasi ang daming pwedeng gawin music-wise. At yung music dapat talaga nag-associate siya or nakasupport siya doon sa text. At daming pwedeng ways para gawin yun. At ito yung pinag-uusapan natin ngayon is one way to do that. In song, for example, kunyari, nasa key of C ka, kunyari lang, no? Pero never ka pumupunta ng key of C. Or never kang pumupunta sa chord na C. Medyo mababaw yan. Parang ganun. Napakababaw na transmission nung imagery. Pero parang ganun yung idea of imagery of something that is intangible. Okay, so unang point yan. Something that is intangible. Sa susunod na point ay okay, so imagery na intangible. At sa mga kakatunin lang, we're talking about how ideas we're talking about ideas on how we can start ideas for music. Parang ganun. And very important yun, maganda ngayon kasi dami tayong time mag-isip. Imbis na siyempre pwede naman tayo mag-TikTok or whatever. Pero pwede rin naman na mag-isip tayo ng artistic. Pwede naman mag-isip tayo creative. Kaya nandiyan yung arts. Okay, second piece. La Vallée des Cloches by Ravel, Valley of the Bells. And yung Valley of the Bells talks about naman imagery of something, of sound. Sound from the real world How will I translate that into music? Yan, medyo madaling isipin yan. Kasi it's sound. Pero ito, isa sa mga exercises na lagi kong binibigay sa students ko, dapat yung sound na yun from the real world is non-musical. So, kunyari, ito very striking siya sa akin kasi kagabi nakikinig ako ng isang interview from someone from Italy. Ano naman natin nangyayari doon? Ang narinig lang daw niyang sounds sa bahay niya ay church bells tsaka ambulance. Kairi, no? Anyway, let's listen to this. Valley of the Bells. So, dun sa title lang na yun, baka pwede na natin ma-imagine yung sound na tinatry niya i-create. May valleys, may depth, and then maraming bells na layers. Okay?
Do you and your team need to work remotely? Monday.com brings your team together.
For piano solo. Alright. So, may bala ako. We are 38 right now. Ang dami, grabe. Alright. Bells. Siguro naman nakarinig na kayo ng kampana, no? Fascinated ako lagi sa tunog ng bell. Malaking bell, ha? Kasi maliban, kunyari, yung beater naman tawag doon. Basta yung tumatama, metal yun siguro, malamang. Or wood. So maririnig mo yun na mataas. Hindi malat. Tapos, dadagundong yun sa ilalim ng napakababa. Yan. So, yung idea yun ng bell, dito sa last few bars, kunyari, yung mga nagbabasa ng pyesa, itong 1, 2, 3, 4, yun yun. Paano siya? Kunyari. So, yan. Ang galing, no? So, yung idea lang of bells at yung layers of bells, kunyari, sa unang-unang part, again, the same question. Maraming bells, layers of bells, how will I translate that into music? Kung balak mo mag-compose ng something like this, kunyari, mag-compose kayo something like this, paano mo translate into music yun? It also depends on the instrument. Again, that's a topic for another day. Pero ang ginawa niya dito ay pang isang pianista lang to. So, first bell. Second bell. Third. Layers of bells with just one pianist. At yun yung idea niya. Na gusto niya pagpatungan yung bells at of course it takes a lot of technical knowledge sa instrument para magawa niya something like this. And this is very easy to translate, I think, to music. For example, kanina pinag-usapan, sinabi ko yung narinig kong interview sa Italy, naririnig na niya sa town niya, it's church bells and ambulance. Very eerie sound. Kami dito sa Marikina, meron kaming 2 ospital na isang kanto lang ang distance from here. So, ang dami rin namin naririnig na ambulance. Tapos dito sa lugar ko sa kami, wala kang maririnig na ingay. Wala talaga. I'm sure marami din sa atin lugar. Dapat naman, di ba, walang maririnig na ingay kasi nasabi sa atin. Walang naririnig na ingay. Kunyari, yung idea na yun, how will you translate that into music? The same question. So, it's a technical question. It's a question that allows us to think of how we can apply that idea into music. So, for example, wag ambulance, napaka-eerie. Kunyari, in a few weeks, Easter Sunday, Resurrection Sunday. For example, you want to make a song out of it, out of that idea. Again, you have to break it down. Daming pwede kasi mong isipin in Resurrection Sunday. And baka may naiisip pa kayo ibang ideas. Pero for example, naisip ko isang idea ay kapag yung niro-roll away yung stone. Diba? Yung sinabi sa Bible. Ni-roll away yung stone, and I'm just imagining yung sound and yung intensity ng pag-roll ng stone. Kunyari lang. So for example, in a song, with that idea in mind, kung ikaw ay mag-aareglo, pwede ka mag-focus sa low drums. Pwede ka mag-focus sa pag-start mo sa low, pitch na melody, and then dahil may pagka-triumphant, of course, yung idea of resurrection. And from bottom pataas. Hindi ko lang. It can be an idea. But it can be, pwede ma-apply yun as a start. Meron kaming friend, si Kuya Erwin Fajardo, kilala ni Maya ito. Composition major din from UP. Meron siyang piyesa dati, hindi ko makalimutan eh. Ingay sa Matahimik Street, yun yung pangalan ng piyesa niya. And ano siya, multimedia siya, may video and sound clips of mga nagja-jackhammer, mga nagre-repair sa Matahimik Street, sa Teachers Village, sa UP. And then, sinama niya yun, combined sa isang brass quintet. So, astig, di ba? So, imbis na yung ingay, medyo straightforward. Yung ingay ay yung construction doon. Yung hinalo niya doon sa brass quintet. And then, ang ganda ng pesa. So, doon napupunta yung sound. Meron ako isang piyesa na pinerform ni Pauline. Nandito, hanapin niya siya. Mamaya i-google niyo siya. Madami nang ginawa niya sa buhay. May sinasabi si Mai. Meron daw film si Gerald Tarog, tapos piyesa ni Dr. Jonas Baez. Tama, tumugtog kami ng live mga 13 years ago sa UP Film Center. Ang title nun, Lisan. At yung point nun ni Dr. Jonas Baez ay, eto maganda mag-research din kayo. Yung soundscape, that's the exact technical term that they use. Soundscape ng bundok, soundscape ng river, soundscape ng mga naririnig doon sa mga areas na yun, sa rural areas, ay tinatranslate into music. Amazing. Amazing yun. Search kayo mamaya, Google nyo, Jose Maceda, Jonas Baez. Napakadaming things about what we are talking about. Translating sound from the real world into music. So for example, merong mga sound doon sa music na yun na parang may nagsasaing, parang may maririnig kang ilog na dumadaloy, parang naririnig mo yung galit ng tao kasi yung story ng film ay niland grab yung lugar nila at nung pagka-land grab, pinatay yung asawa. So yung lalaki galit na galit. So parang feeling ko naririnig ko yung sound nung asawa, yung husband na galit. At tinutugtog yun ng mga musicians. So imagine nyo lang, no? It's a film, Gerald Tarog, and then live music. Stig yun. Search nyo rin, nasa YouTube din yan. Daming ibang paraan para mag-isip ng mga ganung klaseng bagay. For example, if you're going to make a choir arrangement of ano magandang kanta nga? Ano magandang kanta? Sat nga ka. Ano may isip na kanta nga? Tala. Tala. Maliban dun sa harmony and melody niya, you can also think of tala, sparkly na elements that you can add to that arrangement. Di ko alam kung ano yun. Ewan ko, may triangle, pero parang weird eh. Depende na yun sa taste nyo. Pero it can be incorporated. Kunyari, isang idea lang na isip ko ngayon ay merong tala pa rin tayo ni Sarah Geronimo, choir arrangement. Translating that idea into music. Hindi lang basta words yung lumalabas. Hindi lang words yung nag-describe pero pati music. Laging may soprano obbligato or isang soprano na nasa ibabaw. And that can be something. Ewan ko. Idea lang yun. Baka pangit, baka hindi. Pero can be a starting idea. How about in other art forms? Poetry. Yung pananahimik. Ano ulit tayo? Kasi yun nararanasan natin lahat ngayon. Yung pagiging mag-isa. Ay, maganda isipin nyo. Sound. How? Paano mo matatranslate yung sound na yun? Meron bang sound ang pagiging mag-isa? Meron din eh. May kausap ako ng isang araw, sabi ko sa kanya, okay, lahat tayo ganito. Di ba nakikita natin lagi sa Facebook, mga introvert magsasurvive yan sa ganito. Mga extrovert, kailangan kumustahin natin. Pero in actuality, ako introvert ako eh. Gaya na sabi ko sa inyo kanina, iba nagsuggest, Facebook Live mo na lang. Ayoko na iya ako. Naiya ako sa Facebook Live. Anyway, may kausap ako isang araw, sabi ko, parang okay lang, sanay tayo na mag-isa bilang composer. Pero minsan yung pagiging mag-isa, nakakabingi din, deafening. Oh, ganda idea. Daming pwedeng translation ng mga idea ngayon. Hindi lang music, but in other art forms. Pero it's a way wherein we can break down something. Again, ako ang practice ko, if I want to write about something, talagang breakdown ko siya into bits and pieces. And maybe dun sa bits and pieces, I can talk about or I can write about something. Alright. Kung may question kayo, chat nyo lang. Okay. So, pinag-usapan natin kayo ng imagery of something intangible, imagery of sound. Yung particular example is about bells. May madami akong discuss na iba-ibang example. And then, one more example can be imagery of motion. Parang film score. Pero hindi ganun eh. This is
Need a professional logo for your brand? I've used the new Wix logo maker to create one for my startup. I'll show you how.
Okay. The Snow is Dancing. Very short piece by Debussy, Claude Debussy. Play ko na lang. Okay, so yung Snow is Dancing, medyo may pagka straightforward lang siya. No? And paano niya ginawa yun sa piano? Ang ginawa niya sa piano, very effective lang. Nasa high register siya and maraming fast-moving notes sa high register. Kaya kung pinapakinggan nyo siya kanina, parang na-imagine mo, parang may isang maliit na snowflake na binablow ng wind and may konting, may mga 10% feels of Christmas ako nakaramdaman pag pinapakinggan ko itong piyesang to. Pero ganun talaga, di ba? In other countries, winter, lang nagkaka-snow, winter may Christmas. Naman tayo winter sa Pinas. Pero parang ganun yung idea. So, yung motion, napapa-imagine niya sa atin in that way. Fast-moving notes. High registers. And especially kasi piano yung tumutugtog. It will be different, of course, if it's another instrument. Kunyari, ano magandang, kunyari, running. Ano wag running? Motion. Pwede bang gawan ng pesa ang lack of motion? Okay, pwede rin naman. Movement, kunyari, pwede nating isipin, isang naisip ko lang, nung nag-quarantine, kinat yung movement natin lahat. Diba? Parang ganun. So in terms of same question na tinatanong ko kanina, that idea, how can we translate that into music? Hindi naman talaga kailangan music, no? Ano lang, starting material. Kunyari itong pesang to, we can think na yung parameters niya in writing this, dapat high pitch, dapat fast moving notes. Kunyari yung dalawang yun lang. So, dahil confined siya dun sa dalawang parameters na yun, maybe yun yung mga way niya kung paano nakapagsuot ng ganito. So, kunyari, yung sinasabi ko, yung sudden na pag-cut ng motion, ng movement nating lahat. And then, bigla tayong lahat naging tech-savvy. Hindi ba? Lahat tayong naging technological bigla. Kunyari yung idea yun. How can we translate it into music? Always busy, fast motion, blah, 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 then bigla nag-cut off. And then all of a sudden, we feel alienated in our own homes because we have been staying in our homes. Kunyari, pag estudyante ka, 2 weeks na. Kung working ka, 1 week pa lang. Diba? Suddenly, parang ganun. So, how can you think about that in terms of music? Kunyari, if I'm going to write something instrumental, one very light idea can be, continuous motion, can be repeating notes for a long time, and then suddenly stop. Pero yung music ano pa rin? I mean, going pa rin yung music pero silence. Whatever. It's just an idea. In different art forms, how can you think about that? Ang bilis-bilis kunyari execution of something. Ang bilis-bilis ng pag-deliver mo kunyari ng isang line in whatever, spoken word or in acting or whatever. And biglang bumagal. Tapos sumabay lahat dun sa motion mo. Biglang nag-cut off. So that kunyari lang, that's one idea of how we can think about motion. You can think about motion in your own way. Baka may iba pa kayong idea. Pero that's something that can allow us to start something else. Pwede nating isipin na itong mga to na diniscuss natin ngayon can be some sort of can be our avenue to inspiration. Parang ganun. Pag nagtuturo ako ng music, kasi nagtuturo ako ng music theory. So, lagi ko sinasabi sa music theory students ko, ang music theory, hindi music yan. But it's a way to understand music. Tapos nagtuturo din ako ng composition. Ang composition, pag nasa composition class, laging kinakalimutan lahat ng aspeto tungkol sa music theory. Halos lahat. So may ganong aspeto, may dalawang ends of a spectrum. And I think na ang, kunyari, ito ang, ano yung sabi ko yan? Inspiration. Inspiration, whatever. Ang inspiration, I think, isa sa pinaka ma-effective na paraan para magsulat ng music, gumawa ng art, para sa akin. At itong mga pinag-usapan natin can be an avenue towards that. Kasi naiisip mo, nabe-breakdown mo yung isang bagay. Nabe-breakdown mo kung bakit ganito. May isang aspeto doon na naiintindihan mo. May isang aspeto tungkol sa lockdown na to na nai-imagine mo sa ulo mo, nai-imagine mo through words, nai-imagine mo through sound. And then maybe you can create something out of that. Di ba sinasabi na yung pagiging technical ay masama? After mo magkaroon ng inspiration, minsan hindi laging inspirasyon. Hindi laging inspirasyon ang sagot sa pagtatapos ng isang artwork. May technique din. Technique din naman. So yun, tatlong bagay na pag-usapan natin. At medyo patapos na tayo sa ating maiksing lecture. Pero imagery of something intangible can be emotion. You can also search it up in Google. Merong ibang composers dealing with Fibonacci sequence, something mathematical, architecture, si Xenakis, imagery of sound. And I think that's the easiest kasi you take sound from the real world and then you translate it into music. Another type of sound, parang ganun. And then lastly, we talked about imagery of motion. Yeah. So there might be different motions na ewan ko, na-experience kayo ngayon. Pero that's also one way for you to think about a material, a starting material for your music, for your artwork, for whatever. So again, yun yung pinaka goal natin dito is for you to think and to start being creative, to start being a thinker in this time. Kaya totoo yung sinasabi nila that art heals. Heals. Totoo yun, promise. Totoo talaga yan. Kasi when you think about all of this, when you break it down, parang translate into music, translate into a song or whatever art form. Parang, that idea still doesn't make sense. Pero, nagkakaroon ng sense in the artwork that you created, you did. Parang ganun. May questions ba? Ay, gusto ko mag-hi. Kay John Owen. Hi. Sino pa dito? Halo-halo. No? Iba si John Owen. Sir Owen. Good morning. Gusto kong gawin example yung ano eh, yung ibang kanta nila pero naiyawan niya si Owen. Kunyari, sipin niyo yung ano sige Owen, mag-chat ka lang. Isang example lang para may reference tayo sa music na lagi natin narinig. Yung Kalachuchi. Naisip ko lang ngayon, ano yung isang aspect ng music na pwedeng, yun yung description ng Kalachuchi. May idea ako sa utak ko, pero baka kung galing sa'yo, mas legit. Meron ba? When? Yung Kalachuchi, for example, or ibang kanta na lang. Ayun, Kalachuchi. Yung Kalachuchi nyo, paano, meron bang isang, ano man ako nga, ano naman. May isang aspect ba dun sa music? Kunyari, may isang riff or something that directly supports the description nun? Whatever. Kalachuchi, flower, or something about the text. Yeah, yung naisip ko yung flute part. Yung riff mo yun, di ba? Hindi ko maalala exactly, pero yun. Basta yung flute mo parang nagsusupport dun sa pagiging very descriptive nung Kalachuchi. May isa pa. Hindi lang siya about music, minsan about production din siya. Kunyari, sorry, si Owen eh. Yung tahanan, ay tahan na. Tahan na. Tama ba? Tahan. Kaya pa niya yung mic. Tahanan. Kunyari, na-imagine ko lang in terms of production, yung pagiging intimate niya as a start. Diba? Lakas maka-pierce nun eh. Yung pagiging intimate niya sa start. Nakakatulong dun sa description ng song, yung idea ng song, na ano ba? Tulungan mo ko. Na parang nandito lang ako. Umaakay sa'yo. Yeah. So kung wala kayong question, sana makatulong sa inyo yung ideas na yun in creating something. Hindi lang music ang pwedeng i-create. Napakadaya pang bagay na pwedeng i-create na art. Okay? Poetry. Choreography for some something, I don't know. Installation art. Dami-daming pwedeng gawin just based on those ideas. And ideas na very relevant ngayon. Siyempre ako gusto kong maging itapon natin yung relevance natin dito. Kaya meron po ba ulit class bukas? Meron siguro, yes. Pero mag-iisip pa ako ng topic. Dapat hindi ganun ka-technical kasi hindi lahat naman dito musician. Para masaya. Inisip ko pa kung ano. Pero definitely meron bukas. 8 p.m. again. Unless gusto niyo ibang time. Mukhang okay lang naman 8 p.m. Kasi ito ay ang aking Zoom account is sponsored by University of the Philippines. Salamat UP. Ito ang aking way ng pagbabalik sa society. This is out of my obligation as a faculty member of the UP College of Music and boredom. You know. 8 p.m. Yes, 8 p.m. bukas. Abangan nyo na lang yung link sa story ko or sa mga kaibigan nyo. Sponsored by Quarantine and Boredom. And again, sige, let's all be safe. Let's all be healthy. Wash your hands. Oh, you sinners. Wash your hands, people. And protektahan natin yung mga magulang natin, yung mga kasama natin sa bahay na matatanda. Sana may enough food kayo sa bahay for the coming days or the coming weeks. And hindi ko na-expect na maging ganito kadami ang class na to. Para ako nag-class sa ano bang classroom sa music na pwedeng 33, 30 plus. AS, parang STS. STS class to. Oo nga na, STS. Alright. So, anong masasuggest mo na song habang naghuhugas ng kamay? Owen, meron ka bang suggestion? Ito ba si John Owen? Owen, may suggestion ka ba? Meron kayo, di ba? Bakit ikaw? Hindi, baka... Unti-unti na umalis yung mga tao. Okay, paalam ng mga tao.
Ikaw, Owen, kasi ikaw yung ikaw yung artist. Char!
So paalam sa inyo lahat, maging safe tayo lahat, maging mapagmatyag, matanglawin. At nawa ay habang nasa mag-isa tayo, kung saan man tayo, isolated tayo from society, mag-isip tayo mag-isip tayo creatively. At abangan nyo, meron kaming project ni Pauline na next week dapat okay na. Di ba, Pauline? Alright. Salamat po ng madami. At maganda pong gabi. Bukas po ulit, 8 p.m. Alright. Salamat po. Ending the meeting now. Bye-bye. Bye, Mai. Ingat ka dyan.
Bye!
Paalam po.